My name is Gibson, and I'm the owner and founder of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and today I want to talk a little bit about, can our attachment style change over time, and can we express different types of attachment styles with different people in our lives? And I'm specifically doing this topic because I literally get so many questions about this, and they are fantastic questions, and it's super important to be aware of this topic. So before I dive into all the content today, if you haven't had a chance yet to reserve your early bird pricing for either the online courses that we're launching in the very near future, sort of towards the end of the summer, or the group coaching that we're launching, please visit www.personaldevelopmentschool.com, and you can go to the course drop-down menu, and you can click which, you'll see an outline of 35 courses we're offering with a ton of content, really specific, and they come with workbooks and tools for reprogramming. And if you're getting a good amount out of these videos, these courses, and the content is definitely another level. So you'll experience a lot of results just through sort of educating yourself and using the tools and the workbooks and the exercises. So feel free to reserve your early bird pricing now. I'm really, really excited to share this content. Like, this has been such an exciting time to just create all of this, and really looking forward to when we're fully ready to launch. So let me get into the content for today. So first and foremost, when I'm talking about attachment style, and when anybody's really talking about attachment style for that matter, they're referring to your romantic relationships, okay? So your attachment style that's developed in childhood, primarily from the way that you attach to your caregivers, is the same attachment style that then expresses itself in romantic relationships, okay? So these sort of programmed ways that we learn to attach to people, we bring into our romantic relationships. And in general, when we're talking about this, we're referring to romantic relationships. So if you're anxious attachment, it's your anxious attachment with your partner. Okay, and you can definitely express different types of attachment styles with different people, and I'm going to go into that and how to sort of find out what yours is, as well as how to sort of tell what other people's are, and sort of form a deeper understanding of this topic, as well as talk about if your attachment style can change over time, and give you some tools and just some pieces of awareness for how to change your attachment style in general. Okay, so first and foremost, our attachment style is basically just a set of programs that we've derived from our interactions with our caregivers. And these programs have been set into our subconscious mind. So it's basically like this set of rules that we've associated with connection with people. Now, this set of rules will change based on the different types of relationships and connections we have in our lives. So for example, your set of rules for attachment, with mom and dad, let's say, you'll have a different set of rules for attachment and connection for your brother. And this will reflect the different attachment styles that you will tend to exhibit in romantic relationships versus friendships, versus other family member relationships, your kids, all kinds of stuff. So I'm going to go into that in quite a bit of detail, just so you get a really clear picture and understanding. But just to be clear, like, attachment style is basically just a set of subconscious programs that you derived over time. And it's really important to note that your subconscious mind is programmed or deprogrammed or reprogrammed through repetition plus emotion. These are the really key features that your subconscious mind needs in order to change its sort of neural circuitry in a way. It's programming, essentially. So what this means is that, of course, your attachment style can change over time. So it can change because you're intentionally working on your attachment style and you want to actually do reprogramming work and create change. And this can also change, and we'll talk about how to do that a little bit at the end, but it can also change because of like traumatic experiences that you have in different relationships. So for example, you could start off as somebody who's anxious attachment style, and you can get into really painful relationships over and over again a few times, and that might make you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm sick of relationships, I need to learn my independence, and you could do a lot of self-work, and you could become a lot more secure. Or you could not do a lot of work, or speak with somebody, and those relationships could create a new set of programming, okay? Because remember, the subconscious is programmed through repetition. So let's say you have anxious attachment, then you have repetitive and charged emotionally negative experiences. You could become fearful avoidant, right? So you could start to feel like, oh, I have wounds around trust, and I start pushing people away at the same time as I want them to be close. And so you can shift into another type of attachment style because of your experiences in romantic relationships throughout the course of your life. Absolutely. Now, you won't often see like the extreme shift in the polarities, at least from like the unhealthier attachment style. So for example, you're not as likely to see an anxious attachment individual shift into a dismissive avoidant, and you're not very likely to see a dismissive avoidant shift into an anxious attachment, but you could see, dismissive go to fearful avoidant, or anxious go to fearful avoidant, or fearful go to sort of either of those two polar opposites. And you can also, again, through somebody who's doing work and, shifting their perceptions about relationships and beliefs about themselves and expectations, and having a lot of awareness and understanding and reprogramming tools, you can see an individual definitely from any one of those three unhealthy attachment styles shift into secure. Okay, I've seen this hundreds of times myself, and it's, some people will tell you that it's so hard. It's really not that difficult. It's just the matter of, are you targeting things at the subconscious level or not? Real change, and I won't like go on too much of a tangent here, but real change, in order for real change to occur, you must be targeting your subconscious mind. If you're not, then just working with things at the conscious level really doesn't do a whole lot at all. And it's a really important point to keep in mind. And yeah, I'll stay on topic for now, and I'll do a separate video about different sort of tactics and tools that we need in order to be able to incorporate the subconscious mind into our self-work, into our learning, our growth, and our reprogramming. So you can also definitely, going into this topic of how you can express different attachment styles with different people, you can express different attachment styles based on like some of these childhood programs. So for example, and keep in mind, though you can express different attachment styles with different people, there's always sort of the background, or like the sort of shadow influence of your original attachment style that you got from your caregivers. So for example, because you have like that initial set of rules of what it means to attach to people and connect with people, and what attachment is all about and what it means, and what your expectations essentially are subconsciously, that will still play in the background. So if you have like extreme emotional neglect, let's say, and you're super dismissive avoidant, of course that's still going to play into the next set of programming or rules that you adopt in, let's say, friendships and kids in the neighborhood. Like, you're going to be a little more emotionally withdrawn. So your background attachment style, or your primary attachment style, as I call it, will obviously like is more likely to become a self-fulfilling prophecy in your other attachment style and relationships. But if we look at it this way, if you are dismissive avoidant and your parents are emotionally neglectful, but you over time build really healthy and steady relationships, let's say with the kids in your neighborhood growing up, and you're always at your friends' houses and you're always playing outside, you can have that secure attachment style relationship where there's a little bit of your emotional needs consistently getting met, and you learn to trust that, and so you can have very secure friendship relationships. Okay, so again, you're not likely really to become, to be dismissive avoidant and then be like super anxious attachment in all your other relationships. So in very rare cases, things like that can happen. And there are usually more complex reasons for why, but as a general rule, your primary attachment style from caregivers that get from romantic relationships will impact your secondary attachment styles and the secondary relationships in your life. So again, friendships, other family relationships, all kinds of different people, like, we could say later on in life, colleagues, coworkers, that kind of stuff as well. So, and I made a video about this earlier, like your primary attachment style also does tend to have a mirror effect, or it gets reprojected into the relationship with your boss. Not necessarily your colleagues at all. That will be more linked to your friendship attachment style, but with your boss, because your boss represents that authority figure again. So anyways, we won't get into all that. So you can very much be like, let's say, fearful avoidant with your caregivers, like your parents, but then dismissive avoidant with friendships. I often see that a lot. But again, you tend to, because there's that shadow or background influence of your primary attachment style, you do tend to not be too polarized very often in what your attachment styles are with different people in your life. So you might go fearful avoidant to dismissive avoidant, or dismissive avoidant and secure, or anxious and secure, and so it's really important to actually assess this and to notice where your attachment style is actually impacting the different parts of your life or different parts of your relationships, and to not, and the more specific you are with this information, the easier it is to navigate these relationships. Okay, so super important to note from that perspective. Um, and lastly, on a really positive note here, therapy, if it's targeting the subconscious mind, and I will repeat that like 100 times over, if your therapist, if their work is targeting the subconscious mind, you can absolutely change your attachment style. Because again, your attachment style is just a set of rules, it's a set of expectations, emotional inferences you've made over time, emotional patterns you have around relationships, and the beliefs you have about people, and based on connection, based on your previously stored experiences. And again, through repetition plus emotion, which is how the subconscious is reprogrammed, or one of the fundamental rules for reprogramming the subconscious, plus like clearing techniques or subconscious breakthrough work, through these different techniques and avenues, you can definitely change your attachment style and become very, very healthy. So I hope that answers some of those questions that I keep getting. And what fantastic questions, because I can tell the people who are reaching out and asking these things are really diving deep into themselves. And so I just think that's absolutely fantastic. Thank you again so much to everybody who's following this work, sharing their experiences, reaching out via email. I get the most amazing emails, and I'm so grateful. And yeah, thank you so much for watching.